I'm John Greaves III, founder of Garage Gym Life Media, and this interview is a little bit different because it gives you insight into the person who I'm interviewing, as well as a little bit of information about the Garage Gym Life Media brand. My guest is basement gym owner Greg Santarsiero, who is the founder of G-Code Nutrition, that's the pioneer of soda-inspired flavoring and nutritional supplements. Greg talks about the G-Code philosophy and why it's important that all of their products work harmoniously with each other, their new cutting-edge sleep support formula Dream, and I unpack why G-Code Nutrition is the only company we've chosen to affiliate with as a brand. Check it out. Hi, I'm John Greaves III, and I'm the founder of Garage Gym Life Media, the only media company that is focused on providing value for home gym culture. And I'm here interviewing my friend, Greg Santarsiero, who is a basement gym owner and the founder of the only supplement company that Garage Gym Life Media has chosen to partner with, G-Code Nutrition. Pioneers in every sense of the word. What is up, my man?
What's up, man? Thank you for having me once again. It's an honor to be here talking shop with you, man.
Man, I'm telling you, it is so. I like talking to you, and we'll exchange messages and texts back and forth. But we rarely get to actually spend time talking because you're busy building a brand. I'm trying to build a brand
Sure.
with all the weird things. So it's like it takes an act of God for us to be even in the same room.
Yeah,
right?
you get spread thin, but we figure out how to do it at least maybe a couple times a year, here and there.
So let's jump into this because we're talking about your new product, Dream, which I've had the pleasure of trying. Hopefully people can actually read this. Let me turn this sideways.
Yep.
Does this look like? Yeah, all right, yeah. This is Dream. And I said, this is the Dream interview.
And you got and this is really technically the first time I'm like speaking somewhere other than a G-Code platform about Dream. So
as it should be.
Of course.
As it should be.
Of
all
course.
right. There's nothing a media guy loves. I mean, you did this in when you were in college.
Sure.
So nothing a media guy loves more than being the one to get a scoop or break something. Yeah, heck yeah. That's like lifeblood.
Absolutely.
So you did an Instagram live the other night, and I was able to catch most of it. Yeah. You said something I thought was actually pretty groundbreaking. You said your goal for your brand is to make products that work synergistically, so that ideally people can use all of your products at the same time rather than having to pick and choose what they'll use. And that's not the same, for every supplement company. Most of the time, or at least in my experience, you'll say, okay, well, I'm taking this. So let's say a supplement company has a pre-workout. A lot of times you don't want to take the pre-workout because it may interfere with if you're trying to get a pump for your workout because of the caffeine.
Sure.
Just for example.
Right.
But you said that you want to make stuff that people can use every day. I'm gonna assume 365 days a year. And it will not only not interfere with each other, but they'll actually synergistically work to help each product work better for you. So with that in mind, with that framework in mind, let's just begin with, why is that important to you?
It's funny because we talk about one of the goals for the brand is to have an immersive brand, right? Like a 360-degree lifestyle brand, right? Almost as if the consumer can get everything that they need from the one house. They only have to come under one tent to get everything that they need, right? And, I make conscious decisions when formulating the products, thinking about how I want to integrate these products into my own personal supplement protocol and how I would use them strategically. So we try to do so with the idea being that they all sort of complement one another and work alongside one another without there being a ton of overlap. You know what I mean? So like one of the challenges, and there's no scoop here, but in thinking like in terms of overlap, we had talked about, what would a G-Code fat burner look like, for example, right? Like that's a product that doesn't exist, right? And I thought about it for a while and I thought, well, for me, it would probably be a non-stimulant fat burner that someone could then use with their pre-workout. Because it's a lot to ask for somebody to give up their pre-workout. Ideally they'd be using Vice. To give up Vice, it'd be a lot to ask because now you're using a fat burner. So the idea would be, okay, how do I make this fat burner work synergistically with their Vice so that they're still able to utilize both of those products and reap the benefits from both of those products simultaneously. So, when we approach a new product, I sort of keep that idea in mind, right? Of this specific consumer who is getting all of their supplement needs addressed just from our brand and what we provide. And, you know, it becomes more and more possible the more and more products we add to the line. But, you know, as you know, having known me for a long time and having been a part of the brand for a long time, you've seen the evolution and how we don't add a ton of products simultaneously. Like we sort of curate the line, and you know, it's not to be too dramatic, but each product is almost like, you know, goes through a gestation period and a birth, and you know, we try to raise each product right and give it its due time. You know, as the line slowly continues to grow, we want to continue to add the products with the idea in mind that each one works with the next one and each one works with the last.
Okay. So with that in mind, then how long does it take to develop a product from initial concept to releasing it to the public?
Well, you know, I mean, some of the products, you know, I've been thinking about for 10 years, you know, so if you don't think of it, you can't necessarily, you know, I can't say it, because if that's the case, then okay, 10 years, the development process. But like, let's say I came up with an idea today for something, right? And then, you know, just sort of put aside the strategic marketing aspects of how you're going to lay a product, you know, out in terms of, you know, a calendar for a year, when it's going to drop, when it's going to fall. And then obviously also all of this stuff comes at a cost. So you can put aside the investment necessary to you know, bring a new product to the market, right? Financial investment. If you're just talking about, like, I had an idea today and then I was able to work on and develop the formula over time, you know, there's still a process in terms of working with the manufacturer and you know, designing the label and all that goes into it. And then, you know, finally scheduling the manufacturing of the product. So if I was able to come up with an idea today and pull the trigger on it in the next week, you'd probably be looking at, I'd say, a 3-month turnaround, maybe.
I remember when you and I were like, I think we're on the phone. I don't think this was a text situation. I think we're on the phone, and I actually asked you about a sleep aid. And this was months ago. And you told me that, you said, well, you said, all right, keep this under your hat, but we're already developing something. Right. And I was like, okay. I mean, I'm still taking credit for the idea.
Of course,
because of me, that dream exists.
Maybe it does.
Take credit for it.
Maybe that was the little, you know, the wind at the sails that said, all right, let's do this. You know.
Oh yeah, people actually want this. Okay, yeah.
Right, cool. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, and then I mean, what people need to understand, I know, like with an interview like this, it's easy for somebody to say, okay, well, they're just talking about some stuff in the company, and a lot of people have seen, you know, bigger, stronger, faster.
Sure.
I almost said bigger, faster, stronger. The old high school program.
Right. Yeah. Of course. They'll start.
Yeah. But a lot of people have seen bigger, stronger, faster. They've seen that scene where Chris Bell is making supplements in his living room with some day laborers, right?
Sure.
But the reality is that for somebody to do this right, you know, you've got to have a certain, not only vision, but you also have to sort of be an insider. And you've been a supplement insider for a long time, right? Because you've been in this industry, you've seen what works, what doesn't work. Sure. And that's why it's intriguing to me that you decided to make products that work together. Right. All right, so let's talk about Dream specifically, because that's how I lured you into this long conversation.
Absolutely. No, it's okay.
So the thing I like about Dream is it's non-addictive.
Right.
Granted, I've only had it for like a week and a half, but so I was like, but I feel that it's based upon looking at the ingredients. It's non-addictive. There's no melatonin, so I don't have to cycle off of it.
Right.
It's also not a knockout drug.
Right.
You know, I'm not taking. It's not an Ambien or something like that.
Right.
And you talked a little bit about this on Instagram Live, but unpack briefly the different tiers of sleep aids and how Dream fits into that.
Sure. I mean, you know, it's on purpose. You know, the formula is what it is on purpose. And the funny thing is that it's non-habit forming, right? It's non-addictive. But I want the G-code products to be such that people don't want to go a day without them. You know what I mean? In a non-dependent way, but in a way like where it's something that becomes a part of their lifestyle and something that it benefits them as such that they don't want to go a day without it. I've had people reach out to me about King and say, hey man, I don't want to miss a day of King. And I love to hear that.
Right.
So with Dream, right, the idea is to make something that was non-habit forming, like you said. To me, there's a spectrum of products, and I spoke about it on the Instagram Live. And like at the most innocuous end, what I cited was stuff like a sleepy time tea, right?
Yeah.
Which to me, I've always found to be really beneficial. Like, I'm not talking about put you on your ass, powerful, but relaxing and you sleep deeper on it. It just makes you feel better. So like a component of the Dream Formula was sort of inspired by those kind of teas, right? And it's like, that's like old world holistic homeopathic medicine, right? So that's like the most on the most innocuous end. And then, there are components to sleep products, or just these commodities on their own that you see out there. Things like ZMA are effective at promoting better sleep, zinc, magnesium, aspartate. Then you see things that like are more OTC pharmaceutical, things like Advil PM, and I think it's ZQuil now, which is like a NyQuil off, spinoff. That's primary focus is sleep, right? And then you go further along, and there's things like melatonin. Melatonin is not ineffective by any means, but the problem is that melatonin is a hormone, and your body is always seeking homeostasis and balance. So anytime you're introducing an exogenous source of something that your body creates naturally, it's going to seek to balance itself out and get back to normal levels, right? Which is one of the great problems about steroid use, is the idea that when you're using large amounts of testosterone, your body's natural inclination is to shut down its own production.
Yeah, like what do I need to make this for? You're drinking it.
I don't need to make this anymore. Right. There's so much of this circulating, I don't need to make anymore. I'm going to down-regulate because there's no need. So it's the same thing with melatonin, right? And then you sort of end up in a position where, like, for example, if you were using anabolic steroids long enough, where you would need hormone replacement therapy because your body's own production is so suppressed at this point that it's turned off altogether, right? Well, the idea with melatonin is that you don't want to take it for so long that all of a sudden you need supplemental melatonin to have that hormone circulating in you, and that'll completely throw off your circadian rhythm, completely throw off your ability to rest and sleep as you normally would, because your body's not producing that critical hormone anymore. So that was why we left that out of the Dream Formula, because we don't want anyone to be dependent on it or have to cycle off of it. And then I had mentioned some products that include things like phenibut and other ingredients that are very powerful, almost narcotic powerful. And I had an experience that I shared on Instagram Live where I had tried something. A good friend of mine had given me he owns a supplement store, and he had given me, he had all these wide variety of products that he travels with, and he gave me this thing that he used for sleep, and I used it at a full scoop, and it which is what I would use normally on any product, and it just knocked me out. I woke up, I had to take like an involuntary nap a couple hours later, and then I reached out to him, I'm like, man, what did you give me? And he's like, oh man, you can't do a whole scoop. And I'm like, well, you could have told me that. So that was so strong and so effective that it basically undermined an individual's ability to function in the real world, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got kids.
Right, exactly.
Like, you got kids. You can't. Your wife's not.
That's it. Of course.
I mean, she could do it, but why would you force your wife to?
Right. That happened on a Sunday. It happened on a Sunday, and Sienna was little, and Maddie was already big. But it was just ridiculous. It was completely, over the top in terms of like I said, it was like getting hit with a shovel in the back of the head. It's like, all right, that's more than I need. And you also realize that if you're using something that powerful to sleep, like just like the melatonin argument, it's like, or using OTC pharmaceuticals, Advil PM, that kind of stuff, using that stuff, like how can you continue to use that long term? Like it doesn't seem like a long term plan, right? So and then the furthest most extreme case is Ambien and like pharmaceutical prescription medication that you would hope that people wouldn't be using other than the most dire situations, and under the advice and the guidance of a healthcare professional. We wanted to create a product that sort of drew from the best of the available sleep remedies put them all in a bottle, and to do so in a way that was non-habit forming, that was conducive to muscle recovery, to, you know, the hard training lifestyle of people who also, you know, aren't able to sleep 10 hours a night necessarily. You know, an emphasis placed on sleep quality was the other most important aspect of the product. Because that's the thing, right? When you do have those opportunities to sleep, you want to make the most of them.
Yeah.
Like we're saying, sleep quality. And for me, sleep quality takes on a greater premium because the quantity is not there. So if the quantity is not there, then the quality's got to be there, right? Like if you're not sleeping, like you said, you slept 2 hours. All right, well, if you slept 2 hours, then it's got to be a really good sound 2 hours.
Those 2 hours is important.
Got it. Yeah, man. They're critical, you know? They're critical.
So there's one ingredient, you mentioned some already that you don't have in there, but one that I noticed is in some other, because there's a recovery element to there's a restorative recovery complex, right?
Yes.
But I don't see any L-Glutamine in it.
Right.
And I know that there was some back and forth about L-Glutamine. You know, it possibly causes gut distension if you take too much of it.
Okay.
But what was the thought process behind not including that in the recovery?
You know, because what's interesting is, like, I like L-Glutamine. I have no problem with L-Glutamine as an ingredient. It's in Rise. Basically, because what I was trying to do, I was trying to create a formula that was really sort of focused and concentrated, right? So when it says recovery, it's less like you would traditionally think about it, right? Like it wasn't so much the idea of essential amino acids, branched chain amino acids, glutamine, you know, whey protein. Like, those are the more traditional, in my opinion, like recovery nutrients, right? So what we're talking about there is sort of like more systemic recovery, right? Like the GABA, the arginine, the ornithine, the OKG, utilizing those together to promote, you know, growth hormone secretion while you sleep. The theanine, which is called the smart amino, which is found in green tea, that like helps with body relaxation, cognitive function, and then the diindolylmethane, which is like I call it a recovery nutrient because it helps with hormone modulation, and it comes from cruciferous vegetables. It's also like a natural cancer fighting agent, but it's an anti-aromatase, anti-estrogen. So the idea was like, okay, how can we formulate like this core product that helps with systemic recovery overnight, but it's not necessarily like those nutrients alone are going to facilitate muscle recovery from the you know, the hardest squat session. It would be more, you would take Dream and then you would have Rise with it, or you would have Feast with it, and that's where you're getting like the abundance of amino acids, right? Like if I was looking to make the kind of product that you're talking about, it would almost be like taking Rise and Dream and putting them together in one bottle, and then and then it would be you know, all those amino acid components that are traditionally used for muscle recovery plus sleep and the rest and each stuff, relaxation stuff. So
and I mean, and this is pure coincidence, but I'm actually drinking Rise right now while we're talking.
Awesome.
Right. So it's like,
well, that's the idea of that product too, to recover around the clock, you know.
Yeah. But then sometimes I'll take it when I take Dream and King. I say, well, I'll have some Rise because you know I'm sleeping and it's just like recovery and restoration.
Course,
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you know, because I obviously ideally the products are going to be focused in a way that really makes sense for the consumer, right? And you can sort of take the kitchen sink approach, and you say, oh, well, this is going to be my dream formula, like, you know, hot stuff or some of the stuff back here. Right? This is going to be a dream formula because it's going to have everything that exists in this one product. Yeah. But then it's like, at a certain point, it sort of loses its intent and its focus and its vision, you know? So, yeah, I mean, you know, maybe, who knows, maybe someday there's a Dream, you know, amino concoction that goes together or something like that. I could see something like that. But the idea was to like make this sort of narrowly focused relaxation, sleep, growth hormone secretion product, and you know, because the other thing too is like you could probably execute a product like that, like what we just talked about, but maybe you're looking at 8 to 10 capsules then to get in, you know, a gram or a gram plus of a lot of those other, you know, aminos. And the idea with this was like, all right, just make it more targeted. So one of the thoughts in mind with our products is that, you know, they are seasoned in that they're created by people who've already used all the supplements out there, tried every crazy thing in the world, right? The broadest array of products, from the most extreme to the most mundane and everything in between. And sort of we're able to sort through the hype and the stuff that's excessive, the stuff that's unnecessary, the stuff that potentially long-term is unhealthy. Cast that stuff aside and create a product line that's for, you know, real people looking for effective products that also benefit their health and can, you know, sort of foster longevity. Okay. So it's like, how do you do those things? How do you do those things simultaneously? And that's always the balance I'm looking to strike, right? Like the most effective products we can possibly make that are also the sort of products that somebody can use long-term and continue to feel good on. And that's going to not only benefit them in the gym, but benefit them in their lives in general, you know?
There's not a lot of fluff in the brand.
Right.
Is that by design? Like, do you have in your head, like, okay, we're not, if you start seeing too many, like you have like a limit of how many things you want to ever have. Like, yeah, you know, if we get this, then one got to go.
You know, man, well, I think simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. You probably heard me say that to you before. I probably said that to you, right? So like, I think there's something to be said for functional minimalism, right? To some extent. But no, there's not like a preconceived like limit for the amount of products that we would have. It's more just about a natural evolution and things that make sense and ideas we can really stand behind. Like that's really the thing, right? The idea is like developing products that I personally want to use myself, right? Developing products that the people in my life, in my circle, you know, or my closest nuclear circle and my more extended circles, the people of influence in my life, the people who train and use supplements on a regular basis, are these, you know, this is what I think of, are these tools to empower them. And that's the threshold. And that, you know, and I sit here and I, you know, we have 5 products now, and I sit here and think, okay, you know, there are multiple other products that would make sense and benefit those people. And if that's the case, then okay, then we can continue to add, you know. But the idea being, you know, if you're saying like sort of sparse and Spartan and monastic in the approach and stuff, yeah, you know, it's
minimalistic. That's the word I was looking
for. No, but it's true. But it's true. Yeah. So that minimalism is on purpose. And you know, like you were talking earlier, right? Products that work together, work synergistically, complement one another. How many can you continue to daisy chain to each other where it makes sense? And you know, so far so good. You know, so hopefully we're able to continue. And I do still see gaps where we can create and curate really, you know, effective products that work to complement the others without overlapping too much, and that will be a benefit to a lot of people. So,
all right. So for some people watching this will be their first introduction to G Code,
right?
And I'm been fairly vocal about the fact that I prefer to narrow my focus and keep it on home gym culture. I try to promote brands that have some relationship to home gym culture.
Of course.
Not because I don't respect people who are connected to public gyms. I just feel that they already have adequate vehicles to promote themselves.
Sure.
Whereas I think except for COVID-19 quarantine, where everybody's talking about home gym.
Right.
There's not really been a focus on home gym culture. And even now, I would argue that there's not. Right. There's a focus on people who really belong to a public gym, but they're temporarily stranded at home.
Sure.
All right. There's not a focus on home gym culture. So we are home gym culture.
Yep.
All right. How that relates to this is the products you make, because they're designed to kind of support your lifestyle and your friends.
Yeah.
They tend to work well for the people who tend to own home gyms. Right.
Sure. Absolutely.
And I never thought about it in quite that way, but it just felt like a good fit when I said, yeah, let's go ahead and do the affiliate deal with you, because I just think that that's something that, you know, a lot of people can, as we talk about all of the products that you have, viewers need to keep that in mind, that this is stuff that's made for real people with a real existence, not people that you might see who have like certain luxuries that maybe the working class people like we don't have, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, man, that's it. You know, the brand is the focus has always been real people in the world doing real people in the real world doing extraordinary things, right? So the idea of you know, hardworking people of every background who have goals and aspirations, and you know, and how do we you know, create products that not only sort of support their training but support their life in general, right? And you know, I know people who tell me, "Oh man, I take Vicin to bang out some emails." I'm like, all right, that's cool. You know,
Hey, hey, hey! I'm telling you,
you know,
seriously,
yeah,
I take so I so side note. So on
yeah,
I'm actually fairly introverted unless I'm comfortable with the people, right?
sure,
And so, but every Sunday at church, I'm supposed to be the one that greets the visitors,
sure,
right? And so typically I'll drink Vice
right,
because it gives me just enough, um, you know, like it loosens my inhibitions. It sounds like I'm
yeah,
talking
man,
about alcohol, but it's not. It just
understood.
does
No,
just
it's
enough that I don't worry about it. I'm just like I'm amped up to perform. If that
yeah,
makes
you
sense.
know, I know it does, and I mean, it's not unlike how you feel after a good workout, right? You know, the endorphin. There's like an endorphin rush. There's a certain euphoria that comes along with it. I think just you know, when you combine sort of more energy with mental clarity and circulation, I think
Yeah,
you know the human body just you know
yeah,
is more feels more alive, more dynamic. You know, so that makes sense, of course, of course. I mean, you know, I think one of the reasons that pre-workouts have become, you know, just in general, the category in general, going from a product like ours to even like some of the more extreme stuff. One of the reasons I think the product category has become so huge and so widely accepted and so in demand is because people feel good when they take them in
yeah,
general, or they feel something when they take them,
yeah. You feel like you
however
can
you
just
define
conquer
good.
anything. You
Right.
know, I can do anything. Yeah, I
Exactly.
got you. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
We talked about stacking things, right?
Yeah.
Dream can be stacked with King,
Yeah.
which is the testosterone support formula,
Yep.
and all the other G Code products. But is there an optimal schedule for it? So take me through like an ideal day. You can use yourself as an example or
Yeah.
whatever. What's the ideal day if you're taking every product in the G Code line all
Okay.
day, every day? What's your ideal stack look like?
All right. Well, I'll tell you what I
And you don't
do.
have to talk about dosages, but just like whatever.
Right. No, I can tell you exactly what I do. And how I utilize the products, and how I use it is maybe a little different than maybe how the next guy would typically. So maybe I'll tell you what I do, and then maybe what I would say would be more typical. But essentially, I get up in the morning first thing, and I don't do the two metabolic hits. I do my cardio and my lifting back to back first thing in the morning, right?
Yikes.
Yeah, so I get up and I do that. I get up and I take 3 King and just wash that down with water, and then I make 2 scoops of ice, and I sort of sip on that throughout my cardio, and then I lift. And then post workout, I make a feast shake, but it's kind of a combination of feast and my first meal of the day. So it's like a blended shake that's feast plus some other ingredients that sort of make it into a meal, into like a bigger meal, as opposed to like just sort of a post workout shake. It's kind of combining post workout and my breakfast into one.
Gotcha.
And then I have a whole food meal like hour and a half later. And then I basically use Rise instead of intra workout. I sort of drink it throughout the day as like an alternative to having a soft drink, to having a Crystal Light or a diet soda. I sort of drink it over the course of the day to stay hydrated. You know, mixing a scoop in probably 25 ounces of water a couple times a day. And then I probably about I'd say early evening. My schedule's a little crazy. I'm in bed after midnight, and then I'm up. I mean, you have a crazy schedule too, so you know you get it. But
Yeah.
I'm in bed after midnight, and I'm up probably between 5:30 and 6. So you know, it's about five hours and change of sleep. So I end up eating like my biggest dinner meal later on at night after the girls are in bed. So basically, I'll have a second feast, probably around maybe 6 o'clock, and then I will usually take 3 more King about 12 hours after my first dose. So if I took the first one at 6 a.m., I'll take the second one around 6 p.m.
Okay.
And then that leaves Dream, and Dream I'll do about a half hour before bed. typically. I'll take
Okay.
four dream capsules a half hour before bed. So that's sort of how my day breaks down. It's Vice and King first thing, Rise sort of throughout the day, Feast post workout, and about 8 to 10 hours later. The King divided into three capsule doses twice a day, 12 hours apart, and then Dream before bed.
All right. So, side note before we get to the other thing, you don't have a multivitamin product, right?
No.
But Feast is, as I said, a complete meal.
Yeah.
All you have to do. So when I tell people, like, so for viewers, I'm saying it's a complete meal, right? I mean, literally, it's a complete meal, and all you have to do is do something to increase the calories if you want to have just that. For example,
sure.
So like when I was living on just it, I'd have coffee and I put some heavy whipping cream, like a la Rio Blair.
Sure. Vince Gironda.
If you don't know who that is, look those people up. You'll be a better person for it in terms of Iron Game history.
Yeah.
But just for calories. Yeah. So just for calorie purposes. But because it's so complete, do you find that you personally don't have to take a multivitamin supplement because you're getting Rise, which is a recovery formula, and Feast, which is a nutrition complete meal. You're getting that twice a day.
Right. All right. So if I can be honest, right, between Dream and the zinc, magnesium, and B6 in Dream, King, the zinc, magnesium, and D3 in Dream in King, the greens, there's True Serve greens in Feast. They have that twice a day. There's vitamin C and vitamin D in Rise. There's B12 in Vice. There's a broad spectrum of vitamins and minerals just in the products as they are, right? So could somebody get away with not using a standard multivitamin if they were utilizing all the G-code products sort of in the prolific manner that I do? Probably. I will be completely honest. I still use supplemental with vitamin C. I still use fish oil. So there are products that I still utilize, just basic sort of commodity vitamins. But I feel like as the brand evolves, we'll continue to add products that sort of fill those gaps, No, we don't currently have a multivitamin. No, we don't currently have a multivitamin. And if I'm 100% honest, I'm not super thrilled with most, commercially available multivitamins and just how, effective or impactful or properly assimilated I feel any of those are. So, where we would ever venture down that road, we would have to make ours to be sort of different than what's typically available. And just to go a step further, it's not a coincidence though, what you're saying. Like, the most basic supplements are basically vitamins and minerals, right? Herbs, spices. These are like the most basic original supplements that were ever available. And those ingredients, those sort of old world or more sort of simple, supplement precursor ingredients are, they play an important role in all of our formulas,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Well, man, I really appreciate you taking time to talk to me.
Oh man, of course.
Everybody to understand, this is an amazing product. I love it. This is definitely something that I think everybody, especially if you work night shift and you need, help with like the daytime sleep or whatever, I'm telling you, Dream it's worth it. But awesome. Look, I've ranted on and on for long enough. I want people to know how they can get your products, how they can find out more about your products, how they can buy your book, the G code, all of those things. So tell them how to find out about, it's almost Black Hoodie season. They got to be able to get
it's coming soon.
Black hoodies. They got to be able to get their new Black Hoodie season hoodies.
That's right.
There's all tons of gear and everything else. So how does somebody get in touch and get plugged into everything G-Code?
Well, I think if you stumble upon gcodenutrition.com, you'll find all of our supplements, all of our apparel, but also, voluminous writing. There's a ton of, motivational or informational, inspirational edutainment on the site.
A mixtape? Mixtapes?
Several mixtapes. There are there's the Squadcast, which is our podcast. There are 78 entries of Memoirs of a Madman, which is like my blog. A lot of feature articles, and then there's also articles related to training and articles related to our supplements specifically. And then, like I said, all of our supplements, all of our apparel are available there on the website. And then obviously we're on Instagram at gcodenutrition. We're also on Facebook, and hope to be growing the YouTube in the future and whatnot. But we're everywhere you would typically find other businesses in the world. But yeah, gcodenutrition.com and at gcodenutrition on Instagram would be the first two places I'd send somebody.
Hope you guys enjoyed that interview with Greg. As you can see, I actually use the G-Code products. For example, I'm drinking Rise right now to get my morning started. If you'd like to see another cool interview, just click right there. Or if you'd like to buy some Garage Gym Life merch, you can go there to visit our merch store. We also have the link to the G-Code store in the description for this video and every video that we put up here on the Garage Gym Life Media YouTube channel. Really appreciate your support. Have a great day.